2,800 years ago, a blind poet known as Homer would produce two epic works. The Iliad would tell the tale of the Trojan War, where a great city was conquered by one of the most devious plans in history. But with the Trojans having been defeated, the blind poet would now turn his attention to Odysseus with his second epic, the Odyssey, documenting his journey home. Having constructed the Trojan Horse, Odysseus had ensured victory against all odds and proved his reputation as the most cunning of the Greeks. But throughout it all, Odysseus only longed for one thing: to finally return to his homeland of Ithaca, where he could be reunited with his wife Penelope and his son Telemachus. While his family awaited his return, Odysseus's journey home would take 10 long years, during which he and his crew would face the most terrifying creatures known to man. Odysseus ruled over the Greek island of Ithaca, but had spent 10 long years fighting in Troy to retrieve the Spartan queen Helen. With his mission complete, Odysseus looked to travel back to his homeland, where his wife Penelope and his son Telemachus awaited. Gathering his fleet of ships on the Trojan shores, Odysseus set sail, relieved to be finally returning home. With Troy in ruins, they first headed north to look for supplies, landing on the shores of Ismara, home to the Ciconians, a Thracian tribe who had fought on the side of the Trojans. Gathering the supplies they needed, Odysseus and his men found themselves under attack from the Ciconians, but, overwhelmed by such a large tribe, were forced to retreat back to their ships. Resuming their journey, they sailed round the shores of Greece before heading north towards Ithaca. As they neared home, a great storm erupted. The Lotus-Eaters. Lost and confused, Odysseus and his crew left their ships and asked the island inhabitants for help and directions. Rather than give directions, the inhabitants offered the fruit of the island's many lotus trees. Unknown to Odysseus, the lotus fruit contained a powerful drug that made those who consumed it fall asleep, forgetting their past and wanting to stay on the island forever. As several of his crew began to fall down around him, Odysseus realized the sinister nature of the fruit, quickly forbidding its the Cyclops. Having been blown off course, Odysseus and his fleet were at sea longer than expected and were running low on supplies. Stopping at the first island they came across, they spotted a shepherd's camp. Odysseus handpicked a small group of warriors to accompany him, taking several cases of wine to trade. The hungry crew were overjoyed when they saw large supplies of cheese and meat within a cave next to the shepherd's flock. The warriors helped themselves to the supplies, but soon the cave's owner returned, the giant Cyclops Polyphemus, son of Poseidon, who sealed the entrance with a giant boulder. Ignoring Odysseus's cries that he was there to trade, Polyphemus grabbed 2 of the warriors, crushing them before eating them. Each morning and evening, he would return to feast on the remaining crew. Knowing the odds were stacked against him, Odysseus devised a cunning plan. Realizing he couldn't overpower Polyphemus, he offered the Cyclops the wine he had brought to help wash down the taste of his friends. Once the Cyclops fell drunk, he asked for Odysseus's name. Odysseus tricked him, claiming he was called Nobody. Thinking Nobody, Polyphemus soon fell asleep, allowing Odysseus to sharpen a wooden stake and plunge it into his eye, blinding him but not killing him. As the boulder still blocked, Polyphemus screamed in agony, and Cyclopses from across the island rushed to help. When asked, he shouted that nobody was killing him. With the Cyclopses leaving in confusion, Odysseus and his men tied themselves to the bottom of the ship to escape undetected. Reaching their ships, they sailed away. But Odysseus made a costly mistake. He revealed his true name. Polyphemus told his father Poseidon, who, in revenge, cursed Odysseus to lose all his crew and wander the seas for 10 long years. Aeolus, unaware of Poseidon's curse, Odysseus and his crew landed on the floating island of Aeolia. After dining with King Aeolus, ruler of the island, Odysseus was given a leather bag containing the power of the winds, which could speed his journey home. Nearing Ithaca, his crew, believing the bag contained gold and silver, opened it. All the winds rushed out, blowing their ships back into the ocean. Aeolus, believing only a curse from the gods could have returned Odysseus, refused further aid, expelling him. The Lastrygonians. Arriving at the harbor of the Lastrygonians, Odysseus sent scouts to find food. The scouts realized they were being chased by giant cannibals. Circe, tired and depleted, Odysseus's only remaining ship arrived at the island of Aiaia, home to the witch Circe, daughter of the sun god Helios. Splitting his men into 2 groups, Odysseus stayed by the ship while the others searched for food. The men found Circe, who offered them food laced with magic, transforming them into pigs. One man escaped to warn Odysseus. Hermes, the messenger god, gave him a magical herb, allowing him to resist Circe's spells. Odysseus confronted Circe, threatening her with a sword, and she restored his men to human form. Odysseus remained on the island for a year before Circe advised him to visit the underworld for guidance. The underworld. Odysseus traveled west to the edge of the world, performed a ritual sacrifice, and summoned the spirits of the dead. The blind prophet Tiresias appeared, warning that they must not harm Helios's cattle on the island of the sun god, or death would follow. Odysseus promised to heed this warning. The Sirens setting sail, Odysseus and his men passed the home of the Sirens. He had his crew plug their ears with beeswax, while he was tied to the mast to hear their songs safely. Odysseus survived the encounter, and the Sirens, fated to die if resisted, took their own lives. Scylla and Charybdis Odysseus faced a difficult decision between two dangers: Scylla, a six-headed sea monster, and Charybdis, a deadly whirlpool. Choosing Scylla, he lost 6 men, but saved his ship. They continued to Thrinacia. The cattle of the sun stranded on Thrinacia for nearly a month. Odysseus's crew, starving, slaughtered Helios's cattle while he slept. Furious, Calypso, daughter of Atlas, fell in love with Odysseus, offering immortality. He refused, longing for Penelope and Telemachus. Calypso held him captive for 7 years until Zeus, persuaded by Athena, ordered her to release him. Odysseus built a raft, barely survived Poseidon's storm, and reached the island of the Phaeacians. The Phaeacians' Odysseus was found naked by Nausicaa, daughter of the Phaeacians' king and queen. She clothed him and brought him to her parents. The king and queen hosted him, and poet Demodocus sang tales of Troy, prompting Odysseus to reveal his identity and recount his 10-year journey. They provided a ship and crew to return him to Ithaca. The Suitors. 20 years after leaving home, Odysseus returned to Ithaca. Athena warned him of dangers in his palace and disguised him as a beggar. Penelope, having waited faithfully, had been besieged by over 100 suitors. Odysseus reunited with his loyal servant Eumaeus and his son Telemachus, hiding their identities for strategic advantage. Disguised as a beggar, Odysseus discovered Penelope's challenge. Suitors must string his great bow and shoot an arrow through 12 axe heads. All suitors failed. Odysseus then strung the bow with ease, shot through the axes, and with Telemachus and Eumaeus slew the suitors. Reuniting with Penelope, Odysseus's journey finally ended. Overwhelmed with emotion, she embraced him, asking where he had been all this time. Smiling through tears, he simply replied, "Where do I begin?"